Discovered, she fixed the engine and transformed lives. 100,000 bet on this incredible woman. In Milltown, a town shackled by rust and despair, Ella stood poised at the edge of chance. She panted, heart racing, fingers greasy from hours of toil, feeling the weight of every moment pressing down on her. She was more than just a single mother, she was a force, a storm ready to break through the suffocating silence that surrounded her. All the townsfolk saw were faded factories and lost causes. But Ella? She saw dreams flickering like dying embers. If they only knew, with 2 kids at home, Jamie and Lily, she was a juggernaut of resilience. Every day, she wore the tiredness like armor, waiting tables at Sam's diner, cleaning office buildings at night, and working on cars on the weekends. Her father had taught her everything she knew about fixing engines, and every turn of the wrench brought her closer to him, even though most in Milltown scoffed at the idea of a woman in grease-stained overalls. They didn't understand the fierce love behind her passion, the way it sent shivers of hope through her weary heart. But tonight was different. The local auto shop, once a beacon of pride, was set to close. Panic ignited within her like a live wire, and then came the news of a national mechanic competition, a 100,000 prize. It danced like a flame in her mind. This was it. She could save the auto shop, save her family's home. But what if she was too late? What if her hopes were just more broken dreams in this devastated town? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Determined, she stepped into the grimy warehouse that served as the competition headquarters. The air was thick with tension and the scent of oil, but it felt like the cusp of a new beginning. Half-hearted whispers punctuated the buzz of anxious anticipation. She could sense them, skeptics casting sideways glances, sizing her up as if she were nothing more than a gimmick. Ella tightened her grip on her toolbox. As she moved through the trials, every obstacle seemed to slap her in the face, a competitor's sneer, sabotage lurking in shadows, a doubt creeping in from her past. But even when the weight of her father's absence bore down, memories of his encouraging words filled her lungs with fresh air. She had to rise. Just when she teetered on the verge of despair, an unexpected ally emerged, a former rival, someone she had spent years looking up to, extended an olive branch. With every challenge, just below the surface, secrets of the family she loved lay hidden and crawled into the light. The fractures in their lives were mirrored in the lines of her heart. Could winning the prize really mend what had been broken? Or was there a deeper victory waiting, one that had less to do with money than with reclaiming the voice she had lost to the world's narrow definitions? As the deadline crept closer, shaking the ground beneath her feet, she faced a decision that could shatter everything she believed. Can she resurrect the hope that had flickered through her life? And as she looked into her children's hopeful eyes, the question loomed larger: could she really take on this monumental task all on her own? The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the warehouse floor as Ella faced her first challenge, the engine rebuild. Time ticked away relentlessly, and every second felt like a heartbeat echoing her resolve. She studied the task at hand, a heap of metal parts spread before her, each piece a puzzle waiting to be solved. With a deep breath, she dove in, her hands moving almost instinctively. The clang of wrenches and the whir of drills surrounded her, but it was the quiet determination in her heart that guided her. Memories of her father flooded back, each moment another voice cheering her on. She could hear him saying, "It's more than fixing engines, Ella, it's about fixing lives." Her fellow competitors worked with frantic intensity, their faces twisted in concentration. But she remained focused, honing in on the rhythm of the machine. Sweat dripped down her brow, mixing with the grease on her hands, yet she didn't falter. She had come too far, and with every bolt tightened, she could smell victory just within reach. Just as she celebrated a small win in her mind, a loud shout erupted from the corner of the warehouse. "Hey, look at this!" A young man held up his completed engine with a triumphant grin. The crowd erupted in cheers, but Ella felt a knot in her stomach. Doubts came crashing in like waves against a shore. Was she good enough? Did she really belong here? The moment of doubt began to swirl, threatening to pull her under, but then she felt a little hand gripping her ankle. Jamie, her son, had sneaked in to watch. His wide eyes mirrored the flickering hope she clung to. "Mommy. You're gonna win, right?" He beamed, and in that instant, she felt a surge of strength. "Yes," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "I will. For us." Turning back to her task, she pushed the fears aside. Each twist of the wrench was fueled by his faith. The engine began to take form, and with it, so did a sense of purpose. But as she worked, shadows whispered in her brain tales of failures from the past, warnings that echoed louder beneath the weight of expectations. With 2 hours left on the clock, Ella finally managed to fit the last piece into place. A wave of relief washed over her as she cranked the engine for the first time. The roar of the motor seemed to vibrate through her bones. She couldn't help the smile that stretched across her face. It was more than just an engine, it was her dreams bursting to life. But the conclusion was far from secure. The judges began circulating, assessing the work, scanning the faces of those who had fought hard but would only emerge one victor. Ella could feel the scrutiny, the intensity of those gazes. If her heart hadn't been racing before, it was now hammering in her chest. And just when she felt like she had proved herself, she heard the unexpected news: only the top 3 competitors will move on to the final round. The words hung in the air like a storm cloud. Ella's breath hitched. Was she in? Or would all her efforts dissipate like dust in a breeze? As the time ticked down and voices buzzed louder, Ella's eyes scanned the faces, looking for any hint of how she might be judged. Would she rise to the occasion, or would defeat await her at the finish line? The world around her faded, and all she could hear was the echo of her heartbeat. For every moment she fought for, a realization dawned: perhaps the real challenge was not the competition itself but fighting the doubts wrapped around her like chains. And as the judges nodded toward the announcing podium, one overwhelming question flooded her mind: what if she fell short of her own hopes, and what if she had more to prove than just winning? But before the results were announced, the door creaked open behind her, revealing a figure she never expected to see, a face from her past, one that could change everything. Ella turned, her heart lurching at the sight of the figure stepping through the door. It was Alex, her childhood friend, the one who vanished after the accident that changed everything for both of them. His usual confident stride was now tinged with hesitation, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. It felt surreal, like a ghost from a different life had come back to haunt her in the most unexpected way. "Ellie," he said, his voice a mixture of surprise and concern. "I didn't know you were competing." She took a step back, stunned. The warehouse, buzzing with anticipation, faded into the background as memories of laughter shared and dreams built together flooded her mind. But they were quickly overshadowed by the hurt of their sudden parting, the fallout of that tragic day. "Why are you here, Alex?" The words slipped out before she could stop them. Anger and confusion mixed with the rush of emotion swirling inside her. I came to support the competitors," he stammered, his gaze flitting to the judges and then back to Ella. "I heard you were in the running and thought I'd check it out." The anger within her faded slightly, replaced by a sliver of curiosity. She had plenty of reasons to be upset with him, but more than that, she wanted to know what happened to him after the accident, after they lost everything they dreamed about. She glanced at Jamie, who was still watching her with bright eyes, seemingly oblivious to the tension between them. "It's been a while, hasn't it?" Alex nodded, his shoulders dropping as if the weight of unspoken regret pressed down on him. "Yeah, I should have reached out. I didn't know how." Her breath hitched again, realizing how wounded they both were by the past. But this was not the time or place for a reunion fraught with such heavy baggage. She had just nailed that engine, she couldn't afford to lose sight of why she was there. "Look, I really can't talk right now," she finally said, forcing her focus back to the judges preparing to announce the results. "I have to see if I made it to the next round." Ella's heart raced, the hopes and dreams she'd fought for gathering momentum once more. She could already hear the crowd's excitement as the judges reached for the microphone. Their announcement was so close, yet the uncertainty wrapped around her like a familiar embrace. The judges shuffled, glancing down at their clipboards, and Ella leaned in, holding her breath. "We judged each participant not just on their skill, but on the heart and soul they poured into their work." Her fingers twitched, gripping the edge of the workbench, an instinctual reaction to the nerve-wracking build-up. At that moment, Alex shifted slightly, catching her gaze again. "Whatever happens, you've done incredible work, Ella," he said, and for the first time, she noticed the sincerity in his eyes. She wanted to believe him, to let those words carry her through. But would it be enough to shield her from disappointment? "And the 3 finalists who will be moving on are," the announcer's voice boomed, each syllable like a drumbeat echoing in her chest. Ella felt a swell of emotion build, hope, fear, determination twisted into one intense longing for validation. "Ella Mackenzie." Came the name, ringing through the warehouse like a bell of liberation. Elated yet stunned, she blinked back tears, letting the moment wash over her, but as she stepped forward, Alex's shadow lingered in the background, a reminder that life was never truly simple, and perhaps the past had lessons yet to share. Would she embrace the support of an old friend, or was the weight of unresolved pain too great to bear? What new challenges lay ahead in the final round, just when she thought she'd found her footing? Ella's heart thundered in her chest as the crowd erupted into applause. She felt the heat of the lights wash over her, blending with the rush of adrenaline. For a brief moment, she'd completely forgotten about Alex's presence. The pride radiating from Jamie, who beamed up at her with starry eyes, pushed the memories of hurt to the back burner. But as she stepped forward, the bittersweet reality of Alex's return flooded back. It felt like he held all the unanswered questions between them. What exactly had happened after the accident? Why had he disappeared? She wanted to demand answers, but there was a time and place hampered by the cloud of emotions swirling around her as she clutched the finalist card tightly. When the applause finally quieted, Ella turned back to face Alex. For once, all the pain from their separation didn't feel like a barrier. Instead, it felt oddly like an invitation, a chance to redefine the friendship they had once cherished so dearly. The way his eyes searched hers spoke volumes. He wanted to say something, anything, to break the ice, and she felt that anticipation hang thick in the air. "Congratulations," he said finally, his voice steadier now, a hint of admiration clear within it. "That was amazing." "Thanks," she murmured, trying to chase that brief moment of warmth, but doubt crept back in. What did "amazing" even mean if she still felt so lost within herself? The next announcement brought her focus back. "Now, the competition will move into the final round, where our finalists will have a chance to work on their designs live." Her heart sank momentarily. Live? She had to perform in front of a crowd again. With all the emotions of the moment crashing over her, how was she supposed to concentrate? Alex must have sensed it too. "You've got this," he said softly, stepping closer. "Just remember why you started this. To prove to yourself you could." His encouragement struck her like a bolt of electricity. Shivers ran up her spine, igniting the belief she'd buried deep inside. This was her chance, yes, but it was bigger than just the competition. This was about reclaiming herself. "Do you remember how we used to work on the old bikes together?" she asked suddenly, the smile creeping back onto her face. "You'd always push me to take risks, to go for it." "I do." His eyes lightened, and he laughed softly. "You were never afraid to disassemble things and put them back together, even when I was terrified of messing up." That shared laughter made the air feel lighter. It was a reminder of the friendship they had, one that stood messy but resolute amid the chaos of their lives. Thinking about it stung, but it also filled a tiny crack of hope within her. "Then let us do it again," she said, feeling a spark inside her. "I need your support, Alex." He nodded, the air between them shifting. I'm here. Whatever you need. As they stepped away from the spotlight, Ella realized that she was once again building something new, not just her confidence for the competition, but perhaps a way to bridge the gaps in their friendship too. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in a long while, she felt ready to tackle it. With the first round behind her, Ella's focus sharpened once again as she headed toward the final challenge area, feeling a new sense of determination. But lingering in the back of her mind was the undeniable question: could she truly step back into a partnership with Alex, or would their shared past continue to haunt her? And just as she set her tools down, her phone buzzed in her pocket. Glancing at the screen, she froze. A message from her mother flashed across, a name that shook her to her core. The name she thought she'd buried beneath everything she had lost. What did it mean, and how would it change everything? Ella's hands trembled as she stared at the screen. The name didn't just flash before her, it felt like a ghost stepping back into her life. Megan, her mother had texted. Ella hadn't spoken her name in months, had tried desperately to forget about the girl who had claimed so much of her heart and trust before everything shattered. Just as the reality of the upcoming live challenge set in, this new revelation felt like a tsunami, washing away her newfound determination. Ella swallowed hard. Why now? She hadn't been expecting this. Not in a million years. Today would bring back memories she had tucked in the darkest corners of her mind. Hey, you okay? Alex's voice pulled her back from the rabbit hole of anxious thoughts. She looked up to find his face etched with concern, his brow furrowed. His sincerity struck her the easy way he had stepped back into her life, absorbing the fears she had thought would paralyze her. I just got a message from my mom, Ella said, trying to keep her voice steady. It was about someone from my past. Want to talk about it? He asked gently, leaning closer, his hand subconsciously brushing against hers as he reached out. The warmth of his touch startled her. She took a shaky breath, half expecting to break down completely. Somehow, though, she didn't. It's just my old friend, Megan. We were super close until everything changed. It feels complicated. Alex nodded, his expression shifting to one of understanding. Things are often complicated. Especially when they involve people you care about. He paused, letting the weight of their past linger in the air, heavy yet familiar. Ella clenched her phone tighter, feeling the warmth of anger bubble beneath her skin. Complicated doesn't even begin to cover it. Images of laughter and long talks under starlit skies collided with memories of betrayal. When I needed her most, she disappeared from my life. Just like that. She snapped her fingers, the action feeling insignificant compared to the weight of lost time. She glanced back at Alex, desperately seeking reassurance. I get it. He paused again, his voice dropping low. But you've got a chance now, right? Maybe this is your opportunity to make things right. Ella shook her head, frustration boiling up. But what do I say? I mean, how do I face the person who walked away when I needed her? It's like every time I try to move forward, connections from my past pull me back. Alex's gaze softened, and in that moment, she saw not just concern but also unwavering support. You don't have to fix everything perfectly. Just showing that you're willing to talk could mean the world. Maybe it's not about what happened, but about who you are now. His words struck her like a bolt of lightning. It wasn't just about Megan, it was about Ella, standing on the brink of both change and redemption. She had the power to shape her story, to redefine what past relationships meant in the context of who she was becoming. She felt the weight of that realization unfurl within her, wrapping itself around her turmoil. I think I want to talk to her. Maybe even before this competition is over, she said, her voice growing stronger. Then do it, Alex urged. You owe it to yourself to sort through the past and find closure. With a newfound spark of resolve, she nodded, affirming her own strength. Just as she turned to re-engage with the environment around her, her heart raced at the thought of preparing for the next round of the competition with her personal hurdles to confront as well. But just as she readied herself for this monumental task, a notification dinged. Another message from her mother buzzed in. Ella, she wants to meet. The question broke the moment: would she embrace the future or let the past control her? What would she risk for a chance at healing the scars within? As Ella stood frozen for a heartbeat, one thought pierced through the haze: this was only the beginning. Ella's heart pounded as she stared at her phone, the latest message lingering like an unanswered question in the air. The weight of her mother's words hung heavy. Megan wanted to meet. Wow, that's a lot to take in, Alex said softly, his voice breaking through the tension. It was as if he understood the whirlwind of emotions swirling within her. Yeah. Ella's voice barely rose above a whisper as she tried to process the cascade of feelings. Part of her craved closure, a chance to finally understand why things went so wrong. But another part hesitated, rooting her in uncertainty and fear. What are you thinking? He pressed, his eyes steady and encouraging. I guess I'm just surprised, she admitted, running her fingers over the screen. Part of me thought I would never have to see her again. And the other part wants to scream at her. Alex chuckled lightly, easing the tension. Screaming might be a bit too much, but letting her know how you feel could be important. Ella nodded as the thought settled in. Didn't I just say I was trying to move forward? I just don't want old wounds to open again. Maybe you'll find healing instead, he suggested. His words felt like a lifeline, pulling her up from the depths of her doubt. You know, sometimes we have to confront the past to truly move forward. Taking a deep breath, Ella felt a flicker of bravery. You're right. I can't keep running from this. The fear started to transform into a palpable courage, igniting something deep within her. Okay, how about this? Meet her. Talk it out. And if it doesn't go well, you know I've got your back. His gaze met hers, unwavering and filled with warmth. Yeah? She asked, a shy smile breaking through her veil of worry. Absolutely. This is your journey. Just promise me you won't let fear stop you from seeking what you truly want. He reached for her hand again, holding it firmly but gently. She squeezed his hand, cherishing the anchor of support he offered. Thank you, Alex. I don't know what I'd do without you. He smiled back, and in that moment, the buzzing world around them faded away. It was just the two of them, sharing a silent pact, courage against doubt, but then, the call for another round of competition broke through their bubble. The bright lights beckoned her back, reminding her of the stakes ahead. The pressure of the upcoming challenge loomed large in her mind, layered with the weight of her past. Are you ready? Alex asked, a hint of nervous excitement in his voice. I will be, she replied, a sense of determination rising within. But suddenly, a new worry bubbled up. What if I can't handle both? The competition and facing Megan? Just take it one step at a time. Focus on what's right in front of you, he encouraged. As they stepped toward the challenge area, a mix of adrenaline and anxiety coursed through her. She loved the thrill of competition, but now it felt intertwined with an emotional tightrope walk. Ella inhaled deeply, preparing for the chaos of the crowd, the bright lights, and the commitment that lay ahead. But in the back of her mind, the thought of Megan loomed ever larger. What if facing the past made her stronger? What if it all led her to rediscover the person she'd been trying to be? With her heart racing, she took her place among the other contestants, determined to face both this challenge and the one waiting just beyond the stage. Tomorrow, she would meet Megan. Would it bring clarity or pain? And as the countdown began, Ella realized with a rush her journey was more than just a competition. This was about healing, a rebirth of who she was meant to be. But before she could dwell on that, a voice echoed through the speakers, "Welcome to the next challenge." What awaited her on the stage could either crown her a winner or plunge her into the depths of self-doubt again. As her heart raced, she felt the undeniable shift within her. This was just the beginning of something big. What would this next challenge reveal? The spotlight blazed down as Ella took a deep breath, the heat almost palpable against her skin. The audience's voices blended into a low hum, a swirl of anticipation and excitement that tugged at her insides. Here she was, standing on the brink of something immense, an intersection of the past and the present. "Ella, you got this," she whispered to herself, mentally pushing the doubts aside. Her journey had led her here, both to this stage and to the upcoming meeting with Megan. She couldn't forget it all, not now. It was time to harness that emotion. The host introduced her, and as the crowd erupted in applause, she felt a rush of adrenaline surge through her. This crowd, just like her past, was a wild card. Would they support her? Would they love her like she desperately needed? The masks of strangers blurred together, but the faces of a few familiar faces, friends who had supported her on this journey, sparkled in the audience, grounding her. "Let us do this," she said again, louder this time, as she locked eyes with Alex, who stood off to the side, giving her the thumbs up. With every challenge, she pushed further into herself, past the limitations she had once accepted. The first round began, a series of quick bursts of creativity and competition, and suddenly, the adrenaline coursing through her was a dance of liberation. The tasks flowed easily, her body moving as if choreographed by years of yearning for this very moment. However, despite the exhilaration, the weight of what loomed tomorrow crept back in. As she fought through the competition, every thrill of victory felt intertwined with fear, the fear of facing Megan. What would she say? Would she be able to express the years of pain? The memories washed over her like waves crashing into a rocky shore, relentless and powerful. By the end of the first event, she stood, panting, exhilarated but nervous. The crowd cheered, but the reality of tomorrow weighed heavily in her mind. As she wiped the sweat from her brow, she caught Alex's eye again, and for a moment, all her fears dissipated in the warmth of his gaze. "See? You're amazing," he shouted, excitement radiating from him. "Just getting started," she called back, trying to keep the solid confidence she had built. In that moment, Ella realized the path of healing was not just about talking to Megan, it was also about finding herself amid the chaos. The crowd cheered again, their energy feeding her resolve even as her stomach tightened with anxiety. Each twist and turn of the challenge brought bursts of triumph, testing her resilience and forcing her to confront her doubts in real time. As she advanced through the rounds, a new thought emerged: what if this competition was not just about winning? What if it was a stepping stone toward her true self? Hours passed, and the final challenge approached. It was a test of all they had learned: strategy, creativity, and teamwork. The pressure boiled, and the stakes were as high as they had ever been. Ella stood among her teammates, glancing at the challenge board filled with obstacles, not just physical but emotional as well. "Ready?" one teammate asked. "Yeah," she answered, her voice steady. But what she didn't expect was the sudden warmth of understanding blooming between them, a reminder that she wasn't alone in the struggle. These people were fighting their own battles too. As they strategized, Ella felt grounded, united by their shared purpose. The weight of Megan's impending presence faded from the forefront of her mind, eclipsed by the bond forming in this chaotic moment. Then, as they took their positions to begin, Ella felt the raw thrill surge again. This was more than a competition, it was a moment of collective transformation. The journey ahead, with all its uncertainties, glimmered with the potential of newfound strength, and then it happened. The moment the challenge began, Ella realized something profound: victory wouldn't just be about who won that day, but about what she would discover within herself throughout this entire experience. Just as they moved, a thought flickered through her mind: if she could face this, maybe she could face Megan too. She felt ready. But just as the countdown finished, a sudden problem arose that neither she nor her team expected. Would they manage to come together and rise to the challenge, or would it all fall apart right before her eyes? The moment the horn blared to signal the start, chaos erupted. Ella's heart raced as the challenge unfolded in a whirlwind of movement. The first obstacle was a towering wall, slick with a layer of mud that made climbing it feel impossible. Two teammates scrambled to find a foothold, slipping and sliding, while Ella felt her hands tremble with the weight of her responsibilities. "Ella!" one of them shouted. "We need you to guide us." Her breath hitched. How could she lead them when she was still figuring out her own way forward? Yet, she pushed the doubt aside. Gritting her teeth, she focused. Okay, hold on tight. You'll need to create a human ladder. With renewed vigor, they formed a team, the adrenaline motivating them. Ella directed each member where to put their hands and feet, her voice steady and calm. Just like that, the initial panic began to fade. They were more than just a team, they were a unit, moving in sync. As they reached the top, a surge of confidence washed over her. She felt exhilarated, as if the fears that had haunted her were slowly being washed away. It wasn't just about the win anymore, it was about the connections they were forming in this intense moment. But the next challenge loomed ahead, a maze filled with grotesque, unsettling obstacles designed to unsettle even the strongest teams. Ella's skin prickled as they entered. Each turn was dark and twisted, provoking unease. Entrapped within the layers of their minds, Ella's thoughts drifted momentarily to Megan. Would she feel this way when they finally faced one another? Was finding her courage all for nothing? As they navigated the maze, a fellow contestant stumbled. Panic flickered across her delicate features. Ella rushed to her side, instinctively lending a hand. You can do this. Focus on your breath. Every step is a victory. A moment hung between them, charged with unspoken fears and shared determination. The girl nodded, tears glittering in her eyes. It's just. I've never been in a situation like this before. I know the feeling, Ella admitted, squeezing her hand gently. But we're in this together. Just like that, together they thwarted the mental maze ahead one step at a time. When they finally broke through the exit, the light felt blinding, yet rejuvenating. The thrill of overcoming their barriers soared, lighting Ella's heart with hope. But their challenges were far from over. As they marched toward the final obstacle, a new weight settled on her shoulders, heavier than before. The looming question of facing Megan narrowed down to a single thought, relentless in her mind: was she truly ready to confront the past? Ella. Focus. Alex's voice broke through her reverie, snapping her attention back to the present. The final challenge was a towering structure they needed to build from the ground up, but a wrench was thrown into the plans. Time had suddenly become their greatest enemy. Tensions rose as seconds felt like minutes. Voices flew back and forth, opinions clashed, but amidst the uncertainty, Ella took a stand. We need to trust our instincts and work together. Gathering her breath, she outlined a plan. The moment was electric, the air crackled with the weight of their desperation but also with hope. As they started building, their hands moved deftly, the rhythm of teamwork igniting a powerful momentum, yet just as they placed the final piece, a sense of foreboding swept in. Did the clock run out? Each tick sent Ella's heart racing wildly. Would it be enough? Would she ever find the strength to confront Megan, or would all her transformations fade beneath the pressure? As the timekeeper raised his hand, a hush fell over the crowd, anticipation hanging thick in the air. The final bolt was tightened, and breaths were held. But what would be the result of their labor? Would they celebrate triumph or stumble back into the shadows? And just then, a startling crash echoed through the venue, splitting the silence as chaos reignited. The sound shattered the moment, a jarring interruption that sent everyone into a frenzy. Ella's heart nearly leaped out of her chest as she instinctively turned toward the chaos. It was a complete scene of disarray. A chunk of the towering structure they had just built had toppled over, causing a cascade of wood and ropes to fall onto the ground with a loud crash. Stay calm. Ella shouted, her voice straining to cut through the growing panic. She could see teammates frozen in shock, eyes wide, hands trembling. The challenge that had once felt exhilarating now loomed ominously, like a dark shadow creeping back in. Alex was the first to react. We've got to move. Help anyone stuck under there. His shout jolted the others into action, pulling them out of their stupor. They sprinted toward the crumpled debris, urgency overtaking fear. But all Ella could think of was the paralyzing weight of upcoming confrontation with Megan. Would chaos define this moment, too? Would she be ready? She pushed the thought aside and joined her teammates in lifting the remnants of their structure, adrenaline now mixed with an electric determination. The crowd around them murmured, some nervous, others excited. Whispers of disbelief floated through the air, but Ella couldn't let any of that penetrate her focus. This wasn't just a test of their physical strength but of their resolve. As they cleared away the wreckage, the girl Ella had comforted earlier appeared beside her, looking even more determined. "Let us rebuild," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with fierce determination, a stark contrast to the fear she had displayed moments before. "Yes, let us do it," Ella responded, inspired by the girl's sudden transformation. It was beautiful how the pull of shared experience could ignite strength in the vulnerable. They quickly gathered materials, hands moving with renewed purpose. Ella's voice echoed as she directed everyone again, and this time, there was no hesitation. "Find that balance. We can build it even stronger." With each piece that fit into place, the energy shifted. The crowd began to cheer, and with that, hope flooded back into the atmosphere. Ella felt the rush of teamwork surround her. The once daunting question of whether they'd succeed began to feel like a call to rise as champions. No matter the initial setback. Minutes later, they stood before a sturdier structure. It wasn't just about having rebuilt what had fallen, they had woven resilience into their plans, each of them crafted from the very essence of their fears and triumphs. As the timekeeper's whistle blew, signaling the end, everyone erupted into applause. Ella's breath hitched, not just from exertion, but from joy that surged through her stomach and up into her heart. They had done it, but amid the celebration, her thoughts swirled back to Megan. Was all of this enough? Would standing tall together grant her the power to face her past? "Ella." Alex turned to her, his face lit with excitement. "We really did it. This is amazing." Something deep stirred in her, and with it came clarity. Moment by moment, they had built trust, and in doing so, perhaps she could finally take on the biggest hurdle of all herself. As the crowd began to disperse, she caught a familiar figure in the distance. Her heart sank and raced at the same time. Megan. The name hung in the air with two foreboding syllables, but it was intertwined with hope. With each step she took toward that figure, Ella felt the pull of everything they had built today holding her up. This was at the moment where every challenge would merge, forming the bridge between her past and the future she now dared to reach for. Would she find the strength to create her own resolution, or would the past pull her back into darkness? Ella took a deep breath, her heart pounding as she approached Megan, who stood nervously at the edge of the crowd. The years apart felt like thick fog closing in around them, yet the energy of the competition still pulsed through her. Those moments of overcoming obstacles together moments ago fueled her resolve. "You've got this, Ella," she whispered to herself, the words echoing in her mind like a rallying cry. The closer she got, the more she felt the tension around them. Megan's eyes darted away, unable to meet her gaze. The pain of their shared past hung heavy between them. "Megan," Ella began, her voice steady despite the vulnerability coursing through her veins. Megan flinched but finally looked up, and the flicker of recognition between them felt like lightning striking a surge of old wounds laid bare yet brimming with potential. "Ella," she replied softly, the name hanging in the air. But there was no time for small talk, they both knew this moment needed more. "Why did you disappear when I needed you?" Ella blurted, the rawness of her emotions bubbling over. Each word felt like a weight lifted, yet the feelings flooded back: betrayal, sorrow, a longing for understanding. I was scared," Megan stumbled, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "I didn't know how to cope with everything. I thought it would be easier to step away." "Easier for whom?" Ella challenged, the pain morphing into fierce determination. "You left me to fight all this alone. I needed you, Megan. Our friendship meant everything." Megan flinched but met Ella's gaze with sincerity. "I know that now. I was selfish." The apology hung between them, too long in coming yet finally breaking through the past. Sensing a change in the air, Ella lowered her voice, emotions swirling like a dance around them. But can we fix this? I can't do this alone anymore. I'm tired of feeling lost. In that moment, they touched on the vulnerability they had both hidden for too long. Megan reached out, her fingers trembling, and Ella braced herself for the connection. I want to try, she whispered, affirming the bridge they were beginning to rebuild. With the support of their shared hurt, Ella felt a release as hope flooded her heart. She reached forward to take Megan's hand. Then let us start here. The gesture felt monumental, a pledge to not just mend their broken friendship but to support each other through the healing journey ahead. The sound of applause broke through. Ella turned to see the crowd still buzzing with energy from the challenge, but inside her, a new surge of optimism rose. This is just the beginning, isn't it? She asked, her voice steady with newfound strength. Yes, Megan replied, hope stirring in her eyes. Together, they walked toward the crowd, hand in hand. Ella glanced back to find Alex watching, his face filled with admiration, and in that moment, she felt the calm amid the chaos. The final competition had been about more than just winning, it had reignited courage and connection in her life. With Megan by her side again, it meant leaving behind the suffocating weight of loneliness, a rebirth into a brighter, more powerful future. As they stepped into the spotlight together, Ella beamed, her authentic self shining through. The past wouldn't dictate her journey anymore. The roar of the crowd, the cheers of her peers, the realization of family, community, and friendship offered a warmth that felt electric. Let us do this, she firmly declared, and when they began to move forward into the light, it was as if all her transformations bloomed in harmony. Each step echoed the journey they had shared through adversity, more than an engine fixed, but lives salvaged and brought back together. And with that newfound resolve, Ella turned to the audience. Thank you, she said, her voice carrying the weight of gratitude and the spark of triumph. The journey ahead was still unwritten, but she felt ready for anything that came next. Now, dear friends, it's your moment. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of backing the channel through these actions.